Last week, I made a monumental discovery in the field of psychiatry. I discovered a new mental disorder, and I want to talk to you about it. Pathologization disorder is a chronic, incurable, treatment-resistant mental disorder that impacts perceptions, beliefs, and the worldview of those who develop it. Patients begin to believe that people around them have invisible illnesses in their brain that cause them to think and act differently. The main symptoms of pathologization disorder are as follows. The patient believes that they have the ability to recognize and categorize invisible mental illnesses in others without access to proof, scans, evidence, or testing. The patient believes in unproven chemical imbalances in the brain, often forcing this belief onto others without their consent. The patient frequently builds inaccurate constructs of the people around them and begins to see them as mentally ill. The patient constructs false narratives and delusions about genes causing illnesses that they propose without acknowledging the reality that there is no proof for any genes being implicated in so-called mental illness. Patients can no longer distinguish between normal human behaviours and responses and their enduring belief that behaviour changes and responses in humans are actually caused by an invisible, mysterious, unproven illness in their brain. Their patient builds an identity around their beliefs that they can see and diagnose and treat people that they believe are mentally ill. Some of them even build entire careers and companies around it. The patient believes that they're the authority on other people's experiences, and they encourage other people to see themselves as mentally ill, to collude with their own delusion. Patients perceive people with mental disorders as dangerous, unreliable, liars, suspicious, untrustworthy, and it leads them to become paranoid and defensive of their own safety and well-being around the people that they have decided are mentally ill. The patient often demonstrates an enduring belief that they can see mental illnesses and mental disorders inside the minds of others simply by watching them, directly or remotely. In some severe cases of pathologization disorder, the patient actually believes they can diagnose mental disorders in people just from reading their social media posts or reading about them third hand in a newspaper article or online. Some patients even believe they can diagnose mental disorders in celebrities, royalty, politicians, and strangers that they've never met, with special preference for the people that they dislike. Some of these patients advocate for the harm, abuse, torture, imprisonment, and isolation of those that they believe to be mentally ill, and ignore any evidence or signs that the person is actually suffering from further harm. Eventually, patients like these become dispassionate, oppressive, some of them become violent, abusive, and disconnected from the humanity of the person they believe to be mentally ill. They start to dehumanize people who they see as mentally ill. The patient rejects the lived experiences of trauma, abuse, harm, and other people, and instead perceives the person to have an illness in their brain that must be found and treated immediately. Some patients even mock and ridicule any other explanation for human thoughts and feelings, and insist there must be an invisible disorder inside their mind or brain that's causing them to act or think differently. If a patient exhibits 4 or more of the symptoms listed, then they hit the criteria for diagnosis of pathologization disorder. To read more about the causes and treatment options for this fucking made-up disorder that I literally made up and made sound legitimate, head to my blog.